I still remember the exact moment I handed my sister the envelope that would later come back to haunt me in ways I could never have imagined. My name is Elena, and looking back now, I truly believed I had built a beautiful, safe little world for myself. I was in my early 30s, the kind of woman who had worked quietly and steadily to create stability in a chaotic life. I had a career as a senior financial analyst that I was proud of. Long hours, yes, but also the deep satisfaction of seeing projects come together, numbers balance, and clients breathe easier because of the plans I helped create. But more than my job, what defined my days was the love I shared with my husband, Marcus. Our home on Maple Street wasn't a mansion, but it felt like one to me. It was a modest two-story house with cream-colored walls, wooden floors that creaked softly underfoot, and big windows that let in the most beautiful morning light. Every sunrise, golden rays would spill across our kitchen table, catching the steam rising from our coffee mugs. I loved those quiet mornings more than anything. Marcus would wake up before me most days. I'd hear him in the kitchen, the soft clink of spoons against ceramic, the low hum of the coffee maker. When I'd finally shuffle downstairs in my robe, hair still messy from sleep, he'd turn to me with that warm, sleepy smile and say, "Good morning, my love. Coffee's ready, just how you like it." Then he'd pull me close, wrap his arms around my waist, and kiss my forehead like it was the most natural thing in the world. In those moments, everything felt right, safe, complete. We had dreams, the kind couples whisper about late at night when the house is quiet. We talked about maybe starting a family one day, about taking a trip to the mountains where the air smells like pine, about growing old together on the back porch with rocking chairs and a dog at our feet. Marcus was my rock, patient, kind, the type of man who remembered small things like how I took my tea or which side of the bed I preferred. Our marriage wasn't flashy or dramatic. It was steady, warm, and deeply loving. I felt so incredibly lucky. And then there was my family, specifically my younger sister, Lila. She was 4 years younger than me, and from the time we were little girls, she had always been the sparkling one, the one with the infectious laugh that could fill an entire room, the effortless beauty, the free spirit who chased every creative dream that crossed her mind. Our parents had always favored her a little more. She was the artistic soul, the one who needed protecting, while I was the reliable big sister who got straight A's, never caused trouble, and quietly took care of things. I never let myself feel bitter about it. At least I tried not to. Lila was my little sister, my blood, and I loved her with a fierce, protective love that ran deep. Even when she struggled, and she struggled a lot, I was there. College had been hard for her. She changed majors 3 times, chased acting classes, tried travel blogging, bounced between short-lived jobs that never quite paid the bills. The student loans kept growing. By the time she graduated, she was staring at $180,000 in debt. Every phone call where she cried about feeling trapped, about how the interest was swallowing her alive, broke something inside me. I couldn't stand watching her suffer like that. So, without telling anyone at first, not even Marcus in the very beginning, I made a plan. For over 2.5 years, I poured myself into work. I took on extra projects, stayed late at the office, skipped vacations, cut back on little luxuries, and saved every bonus, every raise, every spare dollar I could. Marcus eventually noticed and fully supported me once I explained. "If this is what your heart needs to do for your sister, then I'm behind you," he told me one night as we lay in bed, his fingers gently tracing circles on my arm. "Just don't lose yourself in it, okay?" I didn't lose myself, but I did sacrifice. Quiet dinners out, new clothes, weekend getaways we could have taken. Every time I felt tired or tempted to spend, I thought of Lila's tearful voice on the phone saying, "I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, Elena. It feels like I'll never be free." That kept me going. The day I surprised her remains one of the most beautiful and emotional days of my life. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon in early spring, the kind of day where the sky was a perfect soft blue and a gentle breeze carried the scent of blooming flowers through the open windows. Our living room was bathed in warm, golden sunlight that danced across the wooden floors and made everything feel soft and hopeful. Lila had come over for brunch, wearing one of her flowing bohemian dresses, her long hair loose and catching the light. She looked carefree, as always. Marcus was in the kitchen, humming an old song while he flipped pancakes, the smell of vanilla and butter filling the air. I had set the table with fresh fruit, warm croissants, and her favorite herbal tea. My heart was pounding with a mixture of nervousness and pure joy as I sat down across from her. "Elena," I said softly, my voice thick with emotion, "I have something for you. Something big." She tilted her head, that playful smile on her lips. "Ooh, what's this? Did you finally get me that designer bag I've been hinting about?" she teased, her eyes sparkling. I laughed softly. "No, it's better than that. Open it." She tore open the flap with curious fingers and pulled out the official statement from the loan servicer. Her eyes scanned the page. When they landed on the bold words, "paid in full," her whole body went still. For a moment, there was complete silence except for the distant sound of birds outside. Then her hands started to shake. Tears welled up instantly in her eyes, spilling over before she could stop them. "Elena," she whispered, her voice breaking completely, What did you do?" I felt my own eyes filling. "I paid them off, Lila. All of it. The entire $180,000. You're free now. No more monthly payments eating away at you. No more stress keeping you up at night. You can finally start fresh. Chase your dreams without that weight on your shoulders." The envelope slipped from her fingers onto the table. She let out a sob and practically launched herself across the table to hug me. Her arms wrapped around me so tightly I could feel her trembling. "Oh my God, you did this? For me? After everything? I don't deserve this. You're the best sister anyone could ever ask for. I love you so much. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart." I hugged her back just as tightly, tears streaming down my own cheeks. The relief and joy in her voice made every late night, every sacrifice worth it. "You're my sister," I whispered into her hair. "I'd do anything for you. I just wanted you to have a real chance." Marcus stood in the doorway watching us, a gentle, proud smile on his face. He came over and placed a warm hand on my shoulder. "She worked incredibly hard for this," he told Lila softly. "We both wanted to see you happy." Lila pulled back from me, still crying, and turned to hug Marcus too. The embrace lasted a few seconds longer than I expected. She held on to him, murmuring, "You're both angels, real angels. I don't know how I'll ever repay you for this kindness. Thank you, Marcus, for supporting her, for being part of this." He patted her back kindly. "You don't have to repay anything. Family takes care of family." That afternoon stretched into evening filled with laughter, more tears, and hopeful conversations about Lila's future. She kept repeating how grateful she was, how she would never forget what I'd done, how this changed everything for her. We took photos together, me and Lila smiling with the letter between us, Marcus capturing the moment with his phone. The sunlight slowly shifted from bright gold to softer amber as the day faded. In the weeks that followed, life felt even sweeter, more complete. Leela started coming over more often than before. She'd show up with little gifts, fresh flowers for the table, her homemade cookies, or just a bottle of wine to celebrate my freedom. I loved having her around. It felt like we were finally on more equal footing. But I started noticing small things. She and Marcus seemed to click in a new way. She'd ask him about his work projects with genuine interest, laughing at his dry jokes a little louder than usual. Sometimes she'd text him directly about a funny article she read, or to ask advice on a resume because you're so good at this professional stuff, unlike me. One evening, I came home late from a meeting to find them in the living room. Soft lamplight glowed warmly. Leela was sitting on the couch with her legs tucked under her, leaning slightly toward Marcus as they watched a documentary they both apparently enjoyed. She was laughing at something he said, her hand lightly touching his arm for a second. When I walked in, Marcus looked up with that loving smile and said, "Hey, babe, we saved you some dinner." Everything seemed normal, but something in the air felt just a tiny bit different. Warmer between them, maybe. I brushed it off. She was grateful. Of course she wanted to spend time with us. Family is supposed to be close. I told myself I was being silly, letting old insecurities from childhood creep in. After all, I had the perfect husband and I had just given my sister the greatest gift of her life. What could possibly go wrong? I cherished those days so deeply. The cozy mornings with Marcus, the laughter filling our home when Leela visited, the quiet pride I felt knowing I had lifted such a heavy burden from someone I loved. I felt generous, fulfilled, and secure in the love surrounding me. I opened my heart completely, never once imagining that the very person I had sacrificed so much for might one day look at what was mine and want it for herself. But what I didn't know that day would change everything I thought I knew about the two people I loved most. Until everything changed. At first, the changes were so small I convinced myself they were nothing. Just my imagination playing tricks on me because I was tired from work or still riding the emotional high of helping Leela. But looking back, those tiny cracks were already forming, and I was too blinded by love and gratitude to see them clearly. It started with the texts. Leela had always messaged me, but now her phone seemed to light up more often with Marcus's name. She'd send him funny memes during the day. "Thought this would make you laugh. You have the same sense of humor as me." Or she'd ask for his advice on job applications. "You're so good at this professional stuff. Alana is lucky to have your brain around the house." At first, Marcus would show me the messages with a chuckle. "Your sister is really grateful," he'd say, kissing my cheek. I'd smile and nod, pushing down the small knot forming in my stomach. Then the visits became more frequent. She started showing up on evenings when she knew I had late meetings. "I didn't want Marcus to eat alone," she'd explain with that bright, innocent smile when I walked through the door. I'd find them in the kitchen, her leaning against the counter in one of her flowing dresses, laughing at something he said while he stirred pasta. The soft overhead light would catch her hair, making her look effortlessly beautiful, while I stood there in my work clothes, feeling suddenly plain and exhausted. One night, I came home earlier than expected. The house was quiet, except for soft laughter coming from the living room. I paused in the hallway, still holding my bag, and peeked in. Leela was sitting close to Marcus on the couch, her legs tucked under her, a glass of wine in her hand. The lamp cast a warm golden glow over them. She was telling a story about one of her failed auditions, exaggerating dramatically, and Marcus was laughing, that deep, genuine laugh I loved so much. When she saw me, she jumped up a little too quickly. "Elena, you're home early. We were just catching up." Marcus smiled warmly at me. "Hey, babe. Saved you a plate." I forced a smile, but inside something twisted. "Thanks," I said quietly. "You two seem to be having fun." Leela waved her hand. "Oh, you know me. I just hate the idea of anyone being lonely, especially someone as nice as Marcus." That night, as we lay in bed, I turned to him. "Do you think Leela is coming over a bit too much lately?" He pulled me closer, his voice gentle. "She's just grateful, Elena. You gave her a whole new life. Let her enjoy spending time with family. It's sweet." I wanted to believe him. I really did. So I pushed the unease down again. But the unease kept growing. The messages became more frequent. I noticed Marcus's phone lighting up at odd hours, 10 p.m., 11:30 p.m. When I asked casually, he'd say, "Just Leela sending another meme." But one night, when he left his phone on the nightstand while he showered, curiosity and a growing fear got the better of me. My hands trembled as I picked it up. The conversation thread was long, much longer than I expected. Leela, you looked really handsome today when I stopped by. Elena is so lucky, but sometimes I wonder if she even notices how special you are. Marcus, thanks, but Elena is amazing. She works so hard. Leela, she does, but she's always so serious and in control. You deserve someone who makes life feel exciting, someone who really sees you. I feel like we connect on a different level, don't you think? My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I scrolled further. Leela, I know it's wrong to say this, but I can't stop thinking about you lately. The way you listen to me, no one has ever made me feel that way. Even after everything Elena did for me, I keep wishing things were different. There were more, many more. She had been slowly, carefully planting seeds, complimenting him, subtly criticizing me, positioning herself as the fun, understanding one, while painting me as the responsible but boring wife who controlled the money and the plans. I felt the room spin. My own sister, the girl whose $180,000 debt I had erased with years of sacrifice, the one who had cried in my arms and promised she would never forget what I did. When Marcus came out of the shower, towel around his waist, he saw my face and froze. Elena, what's wrong? I held up his phone, tears already streaming down my cheeks. How long has this been going on? He looked shocked, then guilty. It's not what it looks like. She started sending those kinds of messages a few weeks ago. I told her to stop. I swear I never encouraged her. But you didn't tell me, I whispered, my voice breaking. I didn't want to hurt you. You've done so much for her. I thought it would blow over. The pain hit me like a wave. Gut-wrenching, nauseating pain. I spent that night on the couch, curled up under a blanket, sobbing quietly so he wouldn't hear. How could she do this, after everything I had given her? The sleepless nights, the skipped vacations, the endless overtime, all so she could be free. And now she was trying to steal my husband? The next few days blurred into a fog of confusion and helplessness. I went to work on autopilot, smiling at colleagues while inside, I felt completely shattered. At home, I barely spoke. Marcus tried to apologize, to explain, but every time I looked at him, I saw her texts flashing in my mind. I finally confronted Leela. We met at the same quiet cafe where we used to have Leela lunches. Rain was falling steadily outside, pattering against the large windows, mirroring the storm inside me. She arrived looking fresh and beautiful as always, but when she saw my face, her smile faltered. Alina, what's going on? You sounded so serious on the phone. I didn't waste time. I slid my own phone across the table, showing her screenshots I had taken. How could you? My voice was low, trembling with pain and anger. Leela's eyes widened. For a moment, she looked genuinely shocked, then tears filled her eyes. But there was something else there, too, defensiveness. Elena, it's not like that. I was just feeling close to him. You have this perfect, stable life, the career, the house, the husband who adores you. I felt lost even after the loans were gone. Marcus listened to me. He made me feel seen. I feel like we connect on a different level, don't you think? Her words cut deeper than any knife. You tried to turn him against me, I said, voice shaking. You told him I was suffocating, that I was boring, after everything I did for you. She reached for my hand, but I pulled back. I'm sorry, she whispered. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened. Emotions got complicated. But you're my sister. We can fix this. I stood up, the chair scraping loudly. You tried to steal the one person who makes me feel safe after I gave you freedom. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. I left her sitting there in the cafe, rain still falling, my heart in pieces. The following weeks were the darkest I had ever known, anger mixed with the pain until I couldn't tell them apart. I'd lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, replaying every kind word I had ever said to her, every sacrifice. Helplessness washed over me in waves. What could I do? She was my sister, family, yet she had betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. Marcus and I had long, painful conversations. He admitted he had been flattered by the attention at first. "He made me feel exciting again," he said one night, tears in his eyes. "But I never wanted her. I love you, Elena. I was weak for not shutting it down sooner." His honesty hurt, but it also planted a small seed of hope. Slowly, I began to see that the betrayal wasn't only hers. There had been cracks in our marriage, too, places where we had grown comfortable instead of connected. I started journaling late at night, pouring out my pain onto paper. I wrote one night, "I feel destroyed, but I refuse to stay broken." Little by little, a quiet resilience began to grow inside me. I wasn't the helpless victim anymore. I was a woman who had built a career from nothing, who had sacrificed for love, and who still had strength left. I started going for long walks in the park near our house, letting the fresh air clear my head. I spoke to a therapist for the first time, learning how to set boundaries even with family. The pain was still there, raw and aching, but beneath it, resilience was forming. I realized I had given Leela everything, yet she still wanted more. That realization hurt, but it also woke me up. I never thought I'd see the day when my own blood would look at my life and try to take it for herself. But I was no longer just surviving the betrayal. Something inside me was shifting. I was beginning to rise. The turning point came on a quiet autumn evening when the leaves outside our window turned fiery red and gold. I couldn't carry the weight of the betrayal anymore. The pain had lived in my chest for weeks, like a stone I couldn't swallow. That night, I asked Marcus to sit with me in the living room, the same room where sunlight had once poured in while I surprised Leela with the paid-off loan papers. Now the light was softer, coming from a single warm lamp that cast gentle shadows across the wooden floor. Rain tapped lightly against the windows, creating a steady rhythm that matched the beating of my heart. I looked at him across the coffee table, my hands folded tightly in my lap so he wouldn't see them trembling. "Marcus," I began, my voice steadier than I felt, "I have carried this hurt long enough. I love you, but I will not fight for you. I will not compete with my own sister for the man who is supposed to be mine. You have to choose, fully and honestly. If some part of you wants what she was offering, then I will walk away with whatever dignity I have left. But if you choose me, it has to be completely. No more secrets, no more gray areas. We rebuild or we end this." The room fell silent, except for the rain. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. He reached for my hands, and this time I let him take them. "Alina," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I was weak and flattered. Leela made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in a long time, and I let that attention go too far. But I never loved her. I never wanted her life. I want the life we built together, the quiet mornings, the dreams we whispered about, the woman who works so hard and still has the biggest heart I've ever known. I choose you, only you. I'm so sorry I hurt you. I will do whatever it takes to earn your trust back." We talked for hours that night, real, raw conversations we hadn't had in years. He showed me every remaining message and blocked Leela on every platform while I watched. He agreed to couples counseling the very next week. For the first time in months, I felt a small crack of light breaking through the darkness. My marriage wasn't destroyed. It was bruised, but it could heal if we both fought for it. As for Leela, I chose my justice carefully. I didn't scream. I didn't create a public scene. I simply decided that the woman who tried to take everything I loved would no longer have access to any part of my life. 2 days later, I sent her a single, calm message. "Leela, what you did broke something inside me that I never thought could break. After I gave you $180,000 worth of freedom, years of my sacrifice, my time, my peace, you tried to steal my husband and tear apart my marriage. Because of that, I can no longer have you in my life. The loans are paid, and that gift stands as it is. But any future help, any relationship, any place in my family ends here. I hope one day you look at what you almost destroyed and learn from it. I wish you growth, but I can no longer be part of your journey. Goodbye." I pressed send and then blocked her number. The consequences began quietly but powerfully. At first, she tried to reach me through other ways: new numbers, emails, even messages to mutual friends. She sent long paragraphs full of apologies mixed with excuses. "I was confused. I never meant to hurt you. We're sisters. Blood is thicker than this." When those didn't work, she turned to our parents. They called me, upset and confused. "Elena, she's your sister. Family forgives. She's struggling now that she knows she lost your support." Their voices carried that old familiar tone, the one that always protected Leela, the golden child. For the first time in my life, I stood firm. "Mom, Dad," I said quietly but clearly, "I gave her everything I could. She chose to repay that generosity by trying to take my marriage. I have forgiven many things, but I will not forgive this. I am setting boundaries. If you choose to support her the way you always have, that is your decision. But I will no longer be the one carrying the weight for everyone." My words created ripples. Slowly, the extended family learned pieces of the truth. Leela's charm, which had always opened doors so easily, began to lose its power. Invitations to family gatherings became fewer. Friends who once admired her free spirit started asking questions. The easy safety net she had relied on, my financial help, my emotional support, my willingness to fix things, was gone. I watched from a distance as her life started to unravel in small but meaningful ways. She had to face job struggles again without the cushion of knowing I would help if things got bad. The confidence she once carried so lightly began to crack. One mutual friend told me Leela had broken down crying, saying she never thought I would actually cut her off completely. She had assumed my kindness had no limit. That realization that she had taken my love and sacrifice for granted was part of her consequence. She lost the relationship she tried to steal, and she lost the sister who had always been her safety net. The easy, carefree life she expected after the loans were paid slipped further away because she had destroyed the trust that made it possible. I didn't celebrate her pain. I simply focused on rebuilding my own light. In the months that followed, Marcus and I worked hard. We attended counseling every week. We started dating each other again. Real dates, long walks in the park where we held hands and talked about our dreams. Slowly, the trust returned, stronger this time because it was chosen consciously. One quiet morning, as sunlight once again poured through our kitchen windows, he wrapped his arms around me from behind and whispered, "Thank you for giving us another chance. I see you now, fully. I love you more than I ever did." That moment brought tears to my eyes, but they were different tears, not of pain, but of healing. I also turned inward. I started running again in the early mornings, feeling my body grow stronger along with my spirit. I took on a new project at work that challenged me and reminded me how capable I was. I began writing in my journal every night, not about the betrayal anymore, but about the woman I was becoming, someone who knew her worth, who could love deeply, but also protect herself fiercely. The pain didn't disappear overnight. There were still nights when the memory of those messages would surface and my chest would ache. But each time, I reminded myself, I had been shattered, broken, and exposed to the deepest kind of family betrayal. Yet here I was, rising, healing, choosing myself without guilt. I finally understood that my kindness had never been the mistake. Trusting the wrong person was. But my ability to set boundaries and rebuild my life afterward, that was my true power. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't loud or cruel. It isn't about making the other person suffer publicly or seeking revenge in anger. The strongest revenge is quiet, dignified, and deeply personal. It is living fully even after your heart has been broken. It is healing deeply instead of staying bitter. It is setting unbreakable boundaries with love and firmness. And it is shining so brightly, rebuilding your life so beautifully that no betrayal, not even from your own sister, can ever steal your light again. If you are listening to this and you have ever been betrayed by someone you sacrificed everything for, a sister, a brother, a best friend, a partner, I want you to hear this truth. Your generosity was never weakness. Your love was never foolish. But your worth was never up for negotiation. You do not have to keep giving to people who only take. You do not have to stay connected to those who try to dim your light. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to rise. My story is not about perfect forgiveness or perfect endings. It is about choosing peace over poison, boundaries over bitterness, and growth over grudges. Today, our home on Maple Street is filled with soft morning light again. Marcus and I laugh more deeply, we dream bigger, and I carry a quiet strength I never knew I had. I paid off my sister's $180,000 student loans with love. She tried to steal my husband. In the end, she lost far more than she gained, and I gained back myself. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, if it reminded you of your own strength, please share it with someone who needs to hear that they can survive betrayal and still shine. You are enough. You are worthy. And no one, not even the person you loved most, can take that away unless you let them. Live brightly, heal deeply, protect your light. This is how we win.